Hello everyone, it's time for a new video, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. I have been seeing so many people make this video and it is so fun to watch, and I just thought it would be really fun to make, and so we're making that happen today. I'm pretty sure that the original creator of this tag deleted their video, but I'm gonna link some of my favorite recent ones of like my favorite booktubers doing this tag, because again, it was so fun to watch and you should check it out. And yeah, it's gonna be really long, so buckle up, get a snack, and let's do this. The first question, we're starting off with a great one, but a really difficult one for me, and that is best book you've read so far in 2020. This is impossible. I have read so many absolutely incredible books, like not only amazing books, wonderful, but like ones that have officially joined my all-time favorite books list, and it was impossible. Like, we would be here for a long freaking time, and I'm definitely going to be doing videos where I talk about the best books that I've read so far this year and all of that, so that's coming soon. But I ended up picking 3 that are absolutely incredible that I read recently, and then I have one that's like I just kind of ran into it and just I couldn't not include it in here, so we're gonna get to that. So the first one is a book that I had right here, and that is The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. I actually vlogged myself reading this, and so that video should be coming pretty soon, so stay tuned for more of my thoughts. But this is a YA fantasy about a girl who is very cunning and super selfish and very morally gray. She makes lots of very questionable decisions, and she basically has this plan to marry the Shadow King so that she can kill him and become the queen. He has a plan of his own, and I'm not gonna say much more than that because I don't want to spoil anything, but I just adored this book, and the relationship in it and the romance in it. It is definitely very romance focused. It is very slow burn, and it is just, oh my god, I love it. I love it so much. I can't. The next book is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This book just came out this month, and I read it pretty much immediately, and I listened to it on audio. I really like the audiobook, but I wish I could have read it physically, which wasn't really possible for me, unfortunately, but I definitely will be getting the book physically and reading it physically again because it is absolutely incredible. There are gods in the book and there's magic in it. It is a West African inspired YA fantasy, and I loved the characters in it. It is kind of enemies to lovers, where the 2 main characters want to kill each other, but they kind of develop feelings for each other. The romance is not a big part of the book, just so you know. They definitely don't have a super like cunning, morally gray vibe. You can see that every like bad thing that they have to do really hurts them. Also, it is a grieving crown princess and a refugee that are the 2 main characters, and it is really fast-paced, and I really recommend it. It has a stunning cover. It's spectacular, and I could not put it down, and I loved it, and you need to read it. And the next book is The Midnight Lie by Mary Rutkowski. I fell in love with this book. I actually read it in some of my most anticipated books reading vlog that I uploaded recently, so I'm going to pop it up on the screen and link it down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But this is another YA fantasy that is unlike anything that I've read before. It has a sapphic romance in it that I loved so much, and I don't know what more I can say about it. It has kind of like a dystopian feel, and it is just so amazing. Also really fast-paced. I loved it so much. And the last book that I want to include in this is very different from all the ones that I said before, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue. I was not going to include this because, again, like the books that I read earlier this year, there are so many incredible ones that again became my all-time favorites, and it hurts. I can't think about them because then I would regret not including them in here. But this one, I actually had it like back here, and I saw it and I was like, well shit, I can't not mention this book. Did I even say what it is? It's Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which is incredible. Like, it is absolutely spectacular. This book is a romance between the first son of the United States and the Prince of England, and the two characters are so wonderful and so precious and amazing, and I just adore this book to death, and I need to reread it. And it's actually new adult, and I really hope that it's going to pave the way for more new adult books, because so many readers are asking for it. Like, we want it. It is amazing. We need more of it. It is absolutely worth the hype, and if you haven't read it yet, read it. It is so light and fun, and it will fill your heart with so many good feels, and it definitely deals with some like more difficult things, but overall the tone is super light, and so it's definitely not anything that like is difficult to handle, and it is just it is so good. I love it. I love it. The second question is best sequel you've read so far this year, and this was not a question for a single second, because like it is Defy Me by Tahar Mafi. This is definitely like kind of like an unpopular opinion, but I fell in love with this series with the 3 additional books that they ended up adding to the original trilogy, and I am obsessed, like to the point where like this has joined like the god tier of the books that I've read, and it is incredible and I adore it. And in case you didn't know, Shatter Me is a dystopian series, and the first 3 books are very much like early 2010s classic YA, but the 3 newer books that I ended up adding to that are just feel so much more mature. And Restore Me is the like 4th book, and this is the 5th book, and I really liked Restore Me, but this one it felt like 2 hours. Like, I read it in one sitting. I completely inhaled this book. Fell in love with this so much that I don't want to read the last book because I don't want it to be over. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I have a lot of them, but I'm going to have 2 here right now, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry, which you have probably heard of because it is probably the most popular adult romance so far this year. 2 authors fall in love. That is everything I've ever wanted in my life, and I adore books about writers. Probably like one of my absolute favorite things ever, and the fact that 2 writers fall in love, and yeah. So the plot is basically that the heroine in the book kind of moves to this lake house, and she runs into like her old rival, and the hero writes fiction and the heroine writes like romance, and they do some kind of a switch where they write the opposite genre of the thing that they normally write. And I've heard that it also deals with some like more like sad and difficult things like grief and loss, and I know I'm gonna fucking love this book. There is no question. Like, it's gonna be my new favorite adult romance ever. I want to wait for the perfect time where I am like in the most perfect mood for it so that I can absolutely savor it, and yes. And the other one is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle, which is another adult romance, and people have compared it to The Hating Game, and it's basically about this couple where they are engaged, but they are driving each other crazy. They basically want to piss the other one off so that the other person breaks off the engagement because they don't want to cover the costs of the wedding, and while they do that, they fall in love, and I've heard that it's really funny, and I think I'm gonna really love it. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have so many, but I decided to just go with one that is a little bit above everything else so that I don't have to be here for a million years. So that is Trials of Apollo and the Tower of Nero. This is the last book in the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan, and I feel like I haven't heard enough people talk about this, even though it's absolutely spectacular, and it is probably my absolute favorite series by Rick Riordan, even though I adore all of them, like, beyond measure. And I am so invested in this series, and I can't believe it's gonna be over. Like, it's honestly making me emotional just thinking about that, because this series means so much to me, and I love it so much, and This is one of the few series that I've been with like since the beginning. So I have been reading this for the past 5 years. And I remember thinking when I was like on book 2, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read this in 2020. Like, and it feels insane to think that like the series is gonna end, and I just, oh my god. So yes, that is definitely my most anticipated book. The next question is biggest disappointment, and while I'm lucky not to have many, there is one that is such a clear disappointment, and that is Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This is probably one of the most popular historical romances that people have hyped up so much, and I was so excited for it. It has kind of like the vibe of, you know, like the charming, flirty love interest person guy who is cocky and like a little bit arrogant, but you know, like, yeah. And while those characters are usually ones that I really like, especially like in fantasy books, he was a dick. He was, you know, like, I feel like these characters are amazing as long as the guy is actually a good person deep down. But he was, to me, like, terrible. He was gross and just so fucking rude, and I hated him. And like, if you love this, I'm sorry, I don't want to ruin it for you, and of course you're free to enjoy it, and I'm happy that you enjoyed it. I just really did not, and I actually DNF'd it, and I did not expect that. And I mean, that character did something really fucking horrible at the end of the second book, so I was kind of hesitant to go into it, and for good reason. The next question is biggest surprise, and for that, I'm gonna say The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This book was such a pleasant surprise because I remember reading a lot of reviews that weren't exactly negative, but like they did not really love the book. And I literally didn't even want to read it because I was like, well, I actually ended up reading it for a video that I still haven't put up because, again, I'm a fucking disaster. And I adored it. Like, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it so much. And I was just like, this is incredible. And like, it became definitely one of my new favorite adult romances, and I loved it so much. The heroine in this book is a wedding planner. Her last engagement, basically the guy left her the day before the wedding, and so she, you know, obviously is heartbroken and she hates him and like it's terrible, and she runs into his brother, so like the brother of her ex-fiance, and they have a romance together. So like the brother aspect, I was kind of like, it's kind of weird, but it was amazing. So it's kind of enemies to lovers, and it was incredible. Like there were so many so fun and memorable scenes in it that I loved so much, and the 2 main characters kind of have to work together on this project, and it's actually against the brother, the ex-fiance. At one point there is the only one bed trope, and it's incredible. I loved it so much. It's really fun, but it deals with some more important things as well, and I really, really recommend it. I loved it. The next question is favorite new author, and for this I have 4, so I'm gonna take it quickly. And yeah, the first one is Trisha Levenseller, which is the author of The Shadows Between Us that I talked about. Obviously, like I said, I was obsessed with it, and I still haven't read more of her books, but I'm definitely planning on reading more from her very soon, and I'm definitely going to be checking out all of the books that she puts out in the future. The next author is Roseanne A. Brown, who also wrote A Song of Wreaths and Ruin that I mentioned earlier. I, again, was obsessed with it. I don't think it needs any more of an explanation. I will definitely be buying books by her in the future. It was absolutely amazing. The next author is Rachel Reed, who is an adult romance author, and she only wrote 3 books so far, and it was a trilogy of male-male hockey romances, and I was like a little bit hesitant about it at first. Oh my god, I love all 3 of them so much. I love adult romance books that are super fun, you know, where I'm super invested in the romance and I adore the characters. That's the most important part. But I love ones that deal with like mental health issues or like grief or just, you know, like really important things like that, because I feel like it just adds so much to the books and it makes them so much more powerful and important and impactful, and that is definitely something that these books do in an amazing way. In every single one of them, the main character has a mental illness, and especially since they're, you know, like hockey players, I felt like was really, really important because, you know, there's the whole mentality of just like the like strong, not only like all men, but especially like the super strong muscly men can't have any sort of emotional issues and stuff like that, which is complete bullshit. And so I loved that the book kind of addressed that, and I thought it was done in such an amazing way, and I fucking recommend this series, especially Heated Rivalry. I had to mention that one because that one is, again, god tier, incredible, wonderful. Like, the whole series, I love it, but this one is just the next level. And so if you read only one of them, read this. It's truly incredible. The next question is newest fictional crush. So I didn't really know who to pick for this, but I decided to go with Callias from The Shadows Between Us because just I adored the book. I loved his character so much. He is amazing, and I just loved the layers to his character. I'm just obsessed with that book. The next question is similar, and that is newest favorite character, and for that one, I actually picked Alessandra, who is the female character in The Shadows Between Us. She was amazing, and I feel like she had, you know, she had more questionable morals than Callias, and she was just such a fun and unique character, and I loved her character development. She's a badass, and I love her. And yeah, and the other one that I picked is Malik from A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. He was a really sweet, and he had to make so many difficult decisions, like I said, and again, I loved his character development, and just, I loved both of them, all of them. Yes. The next question is a book that made you cry. So there have definitely been many, but I picked one, and that is The Kingdom of Back by Mary Lou. So this was the type of crying that wasn't like completely heartbroken, something terrible happens tears, but it was just such an impactful book that just really, really touched me so deeply. And it was the kind of ending that is just so powerful and has a really deep message in it. And I actually read the acknowledgements for this book, and that made me super emotional, and I was just crying those tears that are just like really good tears that just feel good, like you're letting go of something, and like you're just like learning something new that is really powerful, and you feel really inspired and touched. Very briefly, it's actually about the sister of Mozart, whose name is Nanarl, and her story, and there's also a fantasy world kind of intertwined with the real one in this book, and I really, really recommend it. The next question is book that made you happy, and again, there are so many, but the one that I picked is another kind of recent one, and that is Meet You Club by Jack Harbin, which is a book that has a own voices male romance in it, and a romance book club, and it is so sweet and so fun and so cute, and I really, really recommend it. Another one that I picked is Trade Me by Courtney Milan, which is a new adult romance where the two main characters kind of make a trade because the hero in this book is super rich and the girl is really poor, and they just kind of do a switch where they switch like apartments and jobs and everything. There is a little bit of fake dating in it, and the romance was wonderful, and it made me so happy, and it was just such a pleasure to read. Both of these authors need more love, and you all need to check them out. So the second to last question, where I have too many books. Yeah, the question is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I have so many books that are stunning. The first one I have here is The Never Tilting World by Rin Chupeco, which is a YA fantasy where the world is split into two, and it's about two twins who one of them lives on one side and the other one lives on the other, and I know that there's a sapphic romance in it, and I have heard really, really amazing things about it. The next one is The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love books that have like illustrated characters on them. It's a retelling of Tristan and Isolde. I think it could be really great, and I'm gonna be real, this one was definitely a cover buy. The next one is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace, which I feel like so many people have talked about this book, and so many people have talked about how obsessed they are with this cover. I love it, and I adore the cover to the second book as well, and this book is a YA fantasy. It has pirates and mermaids and a morally gray princess, and I think it's gonna be really, really cool. Another one that I have here is Circe by Madeline Miller, which is kind of an older one, but it is gorgeous. Like the reflection in it and the color, I love it. I feel like for some reason I feel like it embodies the vibe of the book so well, even though I haven't read it yet. And the last one is Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. I love this. I love the sprayed edges. I love the girl on the cover, the moon, everything about this. Like all the details, all the colors. And the last question, we have finally made it to the end. And the question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So the first one is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi, which is actually one that I forgot to include in the most beautiful books because it is stunning. I love it. I'm obsessed. And I have been wanting to read this book so badly, and this year I finally bought it, and I think I'm gonna love it. It's a historical fantasy where a group of characters who are all really unique and kind of outcasts go on a journey to hunt down this one special magical artifact, and I think it's gonna be really wonderful, and it's really diverse, and I know that I'm gonna adore it. The next one is Take a Hint, Daddy Brown by Talia Hibbert. In case you didn't know, I adore Talia Hibbert. She is the queen of adult romance, and this is one of my absolute most anticipated books of the year, and I will be reading it like the day of the release, which is actually next Tuesday. I can't freaking wait. The next book is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This book is the first one in a fantasy series that is kind of like a gender-swapped Aladdin retelling. I have heard absolutely incredible things about it. I love the cover so much, and I think it's gonna be amazing, and I think I'm gonna fall in love with it, and I really freaking need to read it soon. And another book that has been on my TBR for ages is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I have had this on my TBR so many times, and I'm still incapable of getting to it, and this series, the last book, is coming out this fall, and I really want to read it before then, preferably very, very soon, and I just need to freaking get to it. Like, come on. We have finally made it to the end. This video was so long, so I'm going to make this outro very short. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I am tagging anyone who is interested in doing this tag. It is so fun. Yeah, so that's gonna be it. Subscribe for more videos like this, and yeah, have a great day, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Bye!